welcome to episode 3 of Sun Valley Shop Talk, the podcast about the folk stories and happenings around Sun Valley, Idaho. And today we have our friend Logan Frederickson on. Logan is the owner of Windermere Real Estate in Sun Valley and Haley, and he recently made waves in the Wood River Valley by purchasing the historic Liberty Theater here in Haley. Though he grew up in Coeur d'Alene, Logan has long ties to the Sun Valley area through family connections. His grandfather, who was a ski instructor at the Sun Valley Resort, built a cabin in Warm Springs in 1947, which Logan now calls home. Having lived in the area for over a decade, Frederickson's passion for preserving local culture drove him to take ownership of the Liberty Theater in May of 2023. Logan's first encounter with the Liberty was attending the Homegrown Film Festival, where he was captivated by the Art Deco charm and intimate setting of the 212-seat venue. With its iconic design, including oversized mezzanine seats reminiscent of love seats, the Liberty left a lasting impression. Now Logan hopes to restore the theater as a gathering place for live performances, films, and community events, reviving its historic role in the heart of Haley. Opened in 1938, the Liberty Theater offered Wood River Valley residents their first chance to watch cinematic classics like Gone with the Wind. The theater gained new life in 1994 when Bruce Willis and Demi Moore purchased it, eventually transforming it into a vibrant playhouse in partnership with the local theater troupe, the Company of Fools. For 2 decades, the venue hosted acclaimed productions such as Peter and the Starcatcher and Always Patsy, cementing its place as a beloved community space. In 2016, the Liberty became part of the Sun Valley Museum of Art, following a merger with the Company of Fools. However, the theater temporarily went dark during the COVID-19 pandemic, leading to the disbanding of the troupe. A new organization, the Liberty Theater Company, sought to revive the venue, but their fundraising efforts fell just short. With Logan Frederickson at the helm, the Liberty Theater is poised for a new chapter, one that honors its storied past while fostering a dynamic future for arts and culture in Haley. Logan, welcome to the shop.
Thanks, Spencer. I think I can leave now because that was it.
Yeah,
that was the whole story, and that was everything.
Yeah, well,
good to be here.
Well, we ask all our guests this one question to start, but what brought you to Sun Valley? We know you're from Coeur d'Alene, but what brings you here, and what keeps you here?
You nailed it with the family ties. So my mom's side of the family is from Burley, Idaho, which is 2.5 hours south, farming community. And when I was a kid, would come down to Burley a lot more. And that was like once every 3 years. So kind of since I was a kid, I always had a idea in the back of my head of this magical place, Sun Valley, where the streets were really wide. There's a mountain, and just a lot of different, I didn't come too much in high school or stuff, but as a kid. So then my brother moved here, I think a year before me, and I was wrapping up at Boise State, and since he was already here living in the cabin, it was like I knew exactly where I was heading. So. And what keeps me here is my friends is the main thing. And now my brother lives here. My mom has a place here as well.
Oh,
so
cool.
Family and friends for sure.
So you keep saying as a kid, but you kind of look like a kid.
Yeah.
So
I still feel like I'm a big kid. Yeah.
You've accomplished a lot as a kid.
Yeah.
So tell us the story about Windermere. Like, how did that happen?
Windermere, I got when I first moved here, I instantly became a ski instructor, just like Grandpa, and I'm still am a ski instructor, so that's been a fun job, and still is. And then worked in ski shops, bike shops, also the restaurants. Like did everything a ski bum should do in the valley, and then was like, oh, that's not really gonna sustain me here the way I want to be living here. So. A friend and I went up to Coeur d'Alene and took real estate classes, got the license, but not being from here and being 24, I think was when I got, or 23 when I got my license. None of my friends were looking to buy in Sun Valley at that time. We were all ski bums, so it was tough entry. But then I went into appraisals, met an appraiser on a chairlift, and he's like, "Hey, I could use some help." So
I like to use the chairlift as an office.
Yeah.
Also.
Yeah,
It works.
Yeah, and great way to meet people. So that was real. That happened. I said, yeah. I mean, I'm having trouble gaining any traction in real estate, just being so young and fresh. So John Seppa took me in, Mountain Value Appraisal, shout out. And I was a trainee appraiser for like 2-3 years. And that gave me a lot of confidence going into a lot of properties, looking at contracts. And then I always knew I was going to hop back into real estate once I kind of had more confidence, basically. So then hop back in and then worked for Windermere for 4 years maybe before Dan Gorham was like, hey, what do you think of buying this? And then I was like, huh,
Wow.
let me think about it.
Yeah.
And it worked out.
Wow.
And Dan and I work really well together, and he's been an awesome mentor and partner. So, and luckily a lot of agents accepted that change, coming to it, like definitely the youngest designated broker in the Valley by years or decades. So that was probably interesting for the realtors of Windermere to initially accept. I'd sit down with them individually at lunches and tell them the news, and it was instantly like, what, you? Like, I've been in real estate longer than you've been alive.
Yeah.
But then usually by the end of the lunch or conversation, it'd be like, no, I'm actually really stoked on this, and this is exactly what Windermere needs, like, is young blood and someone that's excited to run it in a new way, a different way than maybe Dan was, but complements what he was doing.
One thing that I've appreciated from you is like your ethos running the company, and that's inspired us, like with Go Giver. Was that was your inspiration?
Cool.
And that's how our company kind of runs our business as well as under that book. So if you haven't read that,
The Go Giver.
we both,
Great book.
but then also you're super involved in the community. It feels like. So I've always wondered, like, is that something that you just naturally have done? You've just dived in to the community, or was that like kind of an intentional decision when you started running Windermere? It's like, hey, we want this to be a business that's involved in the community. I want to be involved in the community, or like, how did that come about?
Yeah, it was intentional because Windermere is unique, and then it has a Windermere Foundation, which a portion of proceeds from every transaction goes towards the Windermere Foundation, and that comes back to our community. So that was something that I noticed that Dan was just maybe not utilizing as much as I would want to, and making it be known. So when I hopped in, that was the first thing that I could be like, oh, we've got, some money that needs to be spent from the foundation here locally. So it was an easy transition to just start reaching out to nonprofits, have them join our office meetings, tell us what they were about, and then try and give, $1,000 at least to a different nonprofit once a month.
Cool.
Is the goal. So that's how the community involvement from that standpoint, and it all goes back to just Windermere as a company having that forward thinking. I think they started the foundation in the 80s, and they've gave over 50 million since then to their communities. And I like that it comes back to ours. So
Have you had like a favorite moment or
of
time? Yeah, of like in the being a part of the Windermere Foundation. Like, has there been a cool moment in this community or memory that you can?
Yeah, I
think
mean,
of?
like this last summer, I teamed up with Stirred Events, and we teamed up with a Space also, which is a summer program, after school program to help tutor kids that could use some additional help. And we took 15 kids mountain biking up at Galena, and for probably 13 of them, it was their first time going to Galena, living here, which was like just so cool right there. Like, they're blown away. And then Stirred Events gave us the bikes for free, and Windermere Foundation paid for the awesome guides. So just doing things like that. And my sister-in-law, Franny, runs the foundation. And that was she helped me with that. So it's just fun to work with people and get Stirred Events involved, the Space involved, and then give kids an experience that they were so happy and so stoked. And some of them were ripping mountain bikers. Some had never mountain biked, but that was a really cool.
That's
one.
awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, it kind of sounds like you also, Windermere aside, like your investment in the Liberty Theater kind of sounds like you've just personally, like you have good intentions with like being involved in the community and wanting to support. Was that, where did that come from? Like what inspired you to get into that?
I'd say for like the deep answer would be my grandpa was extremely community minded in Burley. So my brother and I learned a lot from him, just to give with definitely not expecting anything in return. That's the whole point. So probably comes from that. Yeah.
So cool.
Yeah.
So today, we've invited Logan on the show to discuss the purchase of the Liberty Theater. So we're going to get into that here a little bit. And I want to remind you guys to hit the subscribe button so you're alerted every time we launch our new podcast. Subscribe. We love subscriptions. So
hit
we
that
also
bell.
love the like button if you're listening to the podcast. So go ahead and hit that. I think leading into the theater, it seems like you would have purchased a theater based on what we were just talking about with Spencer about being involved in the community. Was that your main reason, or how did this all come about?
It actually wasn't. It came. The way I bought it was it came on the. I'm in real estate, so you see properties come up. Yeah. Saw that one come up. Didn't think much of it. There was kind of a aura around it of like it's pretty tough building, needs a lot of work, kind of scary vibes. So I don't think people were touching it. But I had a friend that actually put it under contract, and he called me just to see what I thought, and I was like, "Oh, I haven't thought much about it. Let me look into it." And it didn't work out for his intended use, but it got me thinking about it. Like, that's such a cool building, and it was at a price that wasn't absurd. And I walked through it and remember like it was just solid. I was like, I don't see what's wrong with this building. I'm not a architect or a structural engineer, but like jumping around upstairs, I was like, this is solid. If I jumped in upstairs in my cabin, it'd fall down. So I was like, this is a lot better than like what I live in. But that was kind of my friend putting it under contract led me to start thinking about it. And then I got some partners together, and we were able to put in an offer, and there's a few other offers, but I met with the board and whatnot, and it was just like generally, I want to keep it a theater, definitely, where I think some other players, that was not the plan. It was tear it down and build something because the dirt was cheap, where I was like, no, like I'm in real estate and I have a lot of friends here, and just generally I want to do what's best for the community. So if I tore that down, I would have to leave town. Like, so I think they felt comfortable with like, okay, this person is going to try to do something. So,
yeah. No, so last night my wife and I went to the little shop of horrors.
Nailed it.
Yeah. And it's her birthday tomorrow. So we were actually supposed to go tonight, and it didn't work out. And so we bumped it up to last night. So it was actually good because now we can talk about it.
Yeah.
But last month we talked about seeing Snoop Dogg, right? And so Snoop Dogg was a big part of our conversation last month. And, you know, my wife and I, we sit down on the couch in the evening and we'll watch like American Idol or The Voice or whatever. Well, Snoop Dogg's on The Voice. My wife falls asleep during The Voice, and I'm like, babe, you're missing out on this stuff. I mean, Snoop Dogg.
We practically know Snoop Dogg.
Yeah. Snoop Dogg can't even keep her awake. And I just kept noticing her sitting next to me last night. She was like, "This is so good. She's great. Her voice is good." And my wife grew up singing, so she's like, she has a really good voice. And
So she didn't fall asleep.
And she didn't fall asleep. She was commenting on it. She was very involved. She was really into it.
They're amazing. It's a really good play.
Audrey was the best.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know her real name, but that's
I'm
her
a fan of
character name.
Seymour.
And
I really
Seymour
liked
did really good too.
Seymour got me, and the Dent, like everyone. It's hard to pick a fave.
So our question in that was: is this a traveling show, or these people?
This is
live
all
here?
local. I think there's one person out of the whole cast, the band included, that is from out of town.
Wow,
as all local talent.
And speaking of the band,
right?
They were awesome.
Yeah.
Really
They're kind of conducting the whole thing too.
Yeah.
I noticed because they're the timing of it. But, yeah.
So I have other questions that people have asked. Are you going to show movies there? Because the theater here went out of business or whatever, the movie theater, right? So will there be times that you will show movies?
Yeah, we've been showing movies and we'll continue to. We're not doing brand new release blockbusters just because one of the things you do when you buy a theater is you dive into how to play movies, and the movie distribution arm of the business is pretty interesting for sure. And like getting the new movies, they want dedicated time slots, guaranteed this and that. And it just kind of, if you're doing that, you're only doing that. So it's kind of a little bit of a bummer that right away we kind of found out like, well, we won't be able to show the new movies because we don't want to have 2 screenings a day for 2 weeks. Like we want like other things going on.
Yeah.
But I think we've played old movies like Caddyshack. We want Dumb and Dumber coming up. We've got a good Halloween series of movies too. Rocky Horror Picture Show, Casper, everyone's favorite friendly guy. I'm so excited for kids to see Casper. I'm stoked on that one. But yeah, movies are there. Those have been our least attended things. Just because
it takes some time.
It'll take time.
Yeah.
But also you can be like, oh well, I can watch Casper with my kids at home, and I don't have to like take them somewhere. But people always say like, "Are you guys doing movies?" Like so excited.
Yeah.
And then they'll often follow that up with like, "I'm so bummed I missed this movie and that movie," but we're just gonna keep playing them until we find something that hits. Or
Yeah.
yeah.
You guys might be too young to remember travelogues. You know what that is?
What are you talking about?
I don't know.
I actually don't know.
You don't know what a travelogue?
No.
So back when it's really for old people and for kids. But back when I was a kid, grew up in Fullerton, California. So they used to do it at Fullerton High School. They had a big auditorium or whatever theater for their school, and so a guy would do. And this is probably so outdated, they probably don't do it anymore. But if they did, I think it would be kind of cool to add to it. And so these guys would travel around like Africa, and they would show like it was like a documentary on their travel, I guess. And they were telling the story about their travel, and they would go see these certain things and all that stuff. And then they'd put it all into film, and they would come. I think it was like every Thursday night through the summer.
Oh, cool.
And we'd go to that, and we'd go sit and watch, and some of them were funny. They kind of add some entertainment to it. But I don't know. Maybe I'm dating myself, and it's not something that they even do anymore. But it would be kind of cool to have somebody come and share their story on film.
For sure. And they I'd say just it sounds like a newer version of that might be like a Banff Film Festival, or like there's quite a few film festivals. We have a whole women adventure film series we purchased, so we'll be playing that. But and mountain bike festival type things where there's like 10 different videos over a few hours of different mountain bike. But I'll tell our general manager Pete to look into travelogues.
Yeah.
We'll
dig
them up. We'll dig them up.
Well, what did you like? Did you know what you were getting yourself into when you bought it, or like?
Not really.
Or you're just like, all right, then we're doing this.
I remember we closed, and I was like, sweet, for like 10 minutes. And then I was like, oh man. And then I think the first person you tell is like, yeah, we just closed on the theater. Like, bought the Liberty Theater. And people are like, oh my gosh, sweet. What are you going to do? And you're like, haven't got there yet. I just told you I closed. Like, give me a second to be excited. But yeah, I got there like the 6 months after was just a lot of thinking and talking to people and trying to figure out how to make the vision of it being a community space a reality. But then there's no audio or visual equipment in it. So that was kind of like one of the first initiatives was me reaching out to a lot of people trying to figure out how to get new sound and projection in there.
Yeah, how'd you do that up here?
It wasn't for me. I ended up going with a company out of Boise,
Okay.
Boise Marshall Industries, which were great. But tried people around here, and it was too much of a project for local people. And then there'd be, I'd ask people, and they'd be like, "Oh, you got to talk to this guy." And you call that guy, be like, "Oh, I could maybe fit it," but it's like one guy, so you're like, I don't really know how this is. Like, this is pretty big. You want it to be right, and have a company behind it, almost. So eventually, over months and months, and that took forever. There was a company out of Salt Lake that we were talking to, but eventually got one that we connected with and kind of were on the same page, because we're a really small theater and these Salt Lake companies doing arenas. So we were kind of, they were trying to sell us like $200,000 speakers. And you're just like, whoa, we're not a church or a giant sports team here. We have a budget that I gave you, and that is like far exceeding it. So that was, once we found that and got it installed, and it sounds amazing, and it rocks. That felt really good, because then you have a theater. Because up until then it was just a big room and with seats. Yeah.
So Logan, I want to give you an opportunity to give a little plug for the theater at this time.
That's what this whole thing is.
Yeah. Yes. For the month of November.
Yeah.
Go ahead and tell them what you're planning.
We've and MVP, thanks for doing a sponsorship for it, but we're doing a Battle of the Bands on November 16th, which there's 16 bands that have signed up. So that's pretty cool. And it's all going to be in one day. So that's going to be a feat of for Pete, our general manager, and our sound guys. But there'll be 16 bands in there'll be a couple different categories. But there's the winners. There's going to be there'll be judges, and then also the crowd favorite. So the judges' favorite, I believe, wins a full day recording session at a studio in Boise, and then the crowd favorite gets a set at the Sawtooth Gathering next summer. Wow. So pretty great prizes for a band. But that'll just be one full fun day of 16 different bands, ranging from solo acts to full bands, any kind of music you could think of. So that should be really fun. And tickets are at libertytheaterhaley.com. But that'll be a fun community event for sure.
And the date on that was?
November 16th.
Okay, November 16th.
Which is Saturday.
Nice.
Yeah.
Where are these bands coming from? Are they all
most local, but like some Twin, some Chalice. There's like maybe some high school kids that have been playing a long time, or for as long as high school kids can play together out of Chalice, but regionally for sure. Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah.
It'll be awesome.
It'll be fun.
We got to go, Dan.
Yeah.
We are going.
Oh, we're going.
You're going. Got some tickets.
Yeah, do I get tickets
yeah.
with my donation?
Oh yeah, for sure.
I wish I could have done the larger donation, but my wife's like, babe, this is our slow season right now. We can't do that.
Appreciated.
So next time you have to ask me during my busy season.
Yeah. In July,
yeah. July, there's something coming up in November. Yeah.
Are there any anything you want? Well, okay, so you're over a year in now as an owner.
Uh-huh.
So are you in these next couple of years? Is there any sort of event or band or like someone you want to see or like you're going after now that you've got some tenure?
Yeah, I mean, so just a quick plug to when the scariest part of all this was finding someone to run the theater. Having my other job, I don't have the wavelength to be able to operate a theater.
Yeah.
So my friend who I met my first year ski instructing here, Peter Valamorescu, I knew he was in events in San Francisco area. And so right after buying the theater, I called him and I was like, "Hey, Peter, I bought a theater. Can you come run it?" And he's like, "No, that sounds cool, but I have a job down here." He hadn't lived here for maybe 5 years, but comes here on vacations. And then something happened with his work thing, and he got let go. And then he was up here for Christmas, and I was like, "So what do you think? Like, you don't have a job now?" And he's like, "I don't know." And then I took him. I was like, "How about you just come to the theater next week?" And he's like, "Okay." So I walked him through it, and he was blown away, which like anyone is walking through that beauty. So that night he texted me, "I'm in." And he's so good. Like he worked in events in San Francisco, so
That's awesome.
anything you see at the theater, like if you're stoked on how well it's running, like it's definitely, Peter is incredible.
Awesome.
And the schedule he puts forward, like we were booked through November, December, and now he's getting a lot, people are starting to call him a lot, and to the point that we don't have room on the schedule, which is cool, but also kind of a bummer because people like myself think last minute, like, "Oh, this would be fun to do." And he's like, "Logan, we've been full for a month. Like, I have to book things." So one cool one that's coming up at the theater is December 16th. We have Thunder Pussy, which is a very well-known
They're
band.
pop, yeah, good band.
But Molly is from here. She grew up in Haley.
No
who's
way.
like the lead gal of that, or band member of that. So Luke McCann, another owner, co-owner in the Liberty, grew up with her and reached out, like kind of long shot. And she somehow made it work in between Boise and some other place they're playing. So that'll be really
sweet.
cool.
When is that coming up?
December 16th.
16th. Okay.
Yeah, but that one's, we were all very stoked to
Yeah,
get
oh, yeah.
them. So, but other than that, I just want to see any and all events. Like I'd love to see a little more diversity, like whether that be a luchador wrestling match or, like just a boxing match.
I'm in on that
or
one.
like
That'd be
just some
sweet.
like bizarre stuff.
Yeah.
I think would be cool to try and pull in different crowds and demographics just to get them in the door so that they're like, "Oh, this place is really cool." And then maybe, like, who knows, maybe I'll go to a play. And then all of a sudden there's cross-pollination of people learning about different art. Like I wasn't much of a play goer, but now I'm kind of hooked. Like Little Shop of Horrors, I was laughing the whole time. It blew me away. So I think just getting people comfortable with going to the Liberty because there's cool stuff going on, and it doesn't maybe matter what's going on, but just like if you're in Haley and you live a mile away, you're like, "Oh, there's something going on at the Liberty tonight, let's go."
Yeah.
And then they show up and it's fun regardless.
Well,
So you go.
I would say that's something that's missing here in the Valley is fun stuff to do in the evening. Like everything closes down.
Right.
I've talked to people and they're like, "Why don't we have an ice or a roller rink or something up here where we could do water skating?" And apparently there's not enough of a population that an insurance company will cover it, and that was the only reason why. So it's weird stuff like that. But I think having the theater to go to and people get comfortable going and understand, feeling it and like, "Hey, let's check and see what's going on this week," and maybe even not even know what's going on. There's just something that's clicking in their head. But one thing I noticed last night, I think they said there was 12 shows. Is that right? 12 of the Little Shop of Horrors shows.
10 were sold out.
And they said,
Wow.
9.
9, yeah.
And last night was sold out.
Yeah,
Like,
it's sold out.
That's a pretty good deal. Like I think a lot of people since COVID, and it's been shut down since COVID. I remember my wife and I were supposed to go with actually the people we're going out to dinner tonight with. invited us to do something there at the theater, and it got shut down because of COVID.
Yep.
And I think people have been just excited that something's back and running,
Absolutely.
and that they can go to something that's in town that's entertaining.
Yeah.
So,
I was just gonna say it because since COVID, like I drive by the Liberty every night going to my house, and it was just dark and empty. And then now I'm driving by and I'm like steering into the other lane because I'm like, what's going on tonight?
Yeah.
Like, and there's all these people walking around, and it feels like Main Street's alive a little bit, which is really cool to see. I haven't even been in there yet, but I'm feel inspired.
So just a shout out to all these like local coffee shops. Figure out what the Liberty Theater schedule is and open your shops back up. Let's go.
Yeah, it's funny going to, because I'll grab a drink and a nap or dinner before going to a show, and every time I do that, there's everybody around me is going to the show. Like,
oh, cool.
So and everybody's kind of like, yeah, just like when they sit down, just so you know, we have to be at the show by 6:45, so we're gonna need our ticket then. And it's just so fun to see, like, without fail, like Da Vinci, CK's,
Oh, that's awesome.
KB's, everyone's kind of, and it's just fun to see that people are going out before and they have a reason to go out a little early too, and then definitely once it gets out, there is nothing open.
Yeah,
Right.
But
Well, not to take away from what you're doing too, because you guys are serving beer, wine, and drinks, popcorn, hot dogs.
No,
Not yet.
No,
You know
not
who needs
yet.
to do that?
Not yet.
Greg needs to open up
Yeah, gotta get
his
Greg.
little hot dog cart next door, and then people after the show, Greg,
Yeah,
if you're watching,
yeah. A hot dog a cart right out front under the lights
oh yeah,
it works.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Well, so our studio here, our office for MVP is just right behind Liberty. So last night I took my wife out for her birthday dinner up in Ketchum, and then we came back down here, and she's like, let's go get coffee. And then there was nothing open. So we came in our office, and she had coffee in the office, and we sat here and waited until we were able to go over. But yeah, definitely. Hopefully it will kind of stir up some business for other people too.
I think it will.
Yeah.
Just takes a little time, but people definitely, you want a place to go. Like after Haley Rocks, like in the park there, a lot of people finish that, and there's people are fired up. They just watch great live music, and there's like cool, and then town's dead.
Yeah.
So
maybe that's your next venture. Opening up, yeah.
Well, yeah, like we want to kind of work off those next summer, and like maybe after one of those have the theater open for karaoke. So that if you like go to the show and you don't have to put your kids to bed, or like
can we do something? Can we do something like an American Idol like thing?
Yeah, that'd be
That would be
sweet.
fun.
That would be sweet.
But even like when you do karaoke, please don't like have
You
them
have to
go through a
audition.
process to like make sure that they can sing.
Well, it is kind of battle of the bands.
So
It
at
is.
least it's fun. Like,
Yeah, we
to
did
go
we
watch
did a
people.
test run last year for Ryan Rosemarin's birthday, and it was fun.
That's awesome.
Getting people on stage too is like, because you're on a stage with very good, it's a sound system meant for people to be singing in, so people were kind of blown away, and it was fun. The stage, I think, gets you a little looser then, so people were dancing around. It was pretty entertaining.
Well, so I think we saw some clips of that. John,
That's right.
spacing on his name. Oh, John Marsh. John Marsh. Do you know John?
I don't know.
He came in. Has done a lot. It's a lot of filming. He sends me stuff all the time. But anyway, he.
Oh, I do know John.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know John.
He did some filming.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He did a whole music video.
Oh yeah, he sends me all of them.
It was incredible. Yeah. No, it's.
I think I saw that.
We're gonna
thing you're
enter
talking
that into Homegrown, or a shorter version of it. But yeah, he blew me away. He worked for. He was like one of the first guys on MTV.
Yes.
Like made the first music video or something. And I was like, oh, cool. She's like, that's crazy. I don't even know if I can believe that.
Yeah.
Like that's so crazy. And then he sent me the music video did when Sheep Bridge Jumpers played. And it was just him and his wife filming, and then the product was amazing. It was a sweet video.
Anything else?
I don't know. I kind of want to know like your favorite experience or favorite show so far, or like maybe like top 2, top 3?
Yeah, they'd be different. Like for the music, it's always been fun when there's a lot of people there, and so far those ones have been Sheep Bridge Jumpers and Andrew Shepherd, because they're local bands, draw more people. But it's been Peter just set up with his connections out of San Fran and with booking companies, like had some awesome talent come through. What just wasn't as well attended because people in a small mountain town kind of go out for what you know.
Yeah.
But Analog Dog out of San Francisco was an awesome band. I think they sold out the Fillmore the next night in San Francisco.
Whoa.
Or like the next couple days later. And we maybe had like 25 people there.
Sweet.
At their show for us. So like that's when you kind of feel bad for the band, but every time that happens, the band's like, "Are you kidding me? This place is awesome. We're happy to play." We've played in way worse places for less people.
Yeah.
So this is good. You guys are nice. So those would probably be the music ones, and then Little Shop of Horrors is I think the Valley's favorite so far since we reopened, just by their support for it.
And that's got a couple more nights.
Yeah, that's tonight, tomorrow, Friday, and Saturday
Okay.
is the last one, and they're all sold out, which is fantastic. It was their biggest show they've ever done, record-breaking show for the Liberty Theater Company.
Awesome.
Yeah. Which I think helps that we're open not just for play, because before it was open only for plays. They were the only group using it, which was great because we had theater, but when I bought it, I knew I wanted it to be open to everyone. Nonprofits have used it. The Advocates have used it. Red Side Foundation is using it. So we want nonprofits to be able to fundraise in it or promote their cause or anything. So that's been cool to get some traction there. But I think because it's open more and people are going to see music or a movie, that when the play comes, like it's not like people are going to that maybe wouldn't go to the play before just because they're used to going to the Liberty Theater. Back to kind of the hope that people just start expecting there to be consistency at the theater and us delivering consistent stuff.
So Bruce Willis and Demi Moore purchased it. Do you know why they purchased it? What was their reason behind it? What were they trying to do with it?
I haven't got to ask him yet. That'd be sweet to ask Demi.
We'll have
Moore
him on the
anything.
show.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
We'll have Demi on the show.
Yeah, but they were buying a lot of stuff in Haley. They had Shorties, they had the Mint, Liberty Theater. But I mean, Bruce is an actor. He put on a couple plays there, performances. Fool for Love was one that. But like Robin Williams played there, so he was in entertainment industry, and I know. But when they bought it, I think the theater was in pretty not great condition. It was in disrepair, and they dumped a lot of money into it. And having their LA connections, I think they did an extraordinary job, and that's what you see today when you like the neon lights. That was Bruce and Demi. It didn't look the same after they got done with it in a good way. The seats, like everything. So we're just feel lucky that they did that, because if they didn't do that, then the theater might not be someone else could have bought it and maybe fixed it up, but probably nowhere near the level that they were able to with their capital and their connections. So that's when I think of them, I'm just very grateful to them that they bought it and then loved it so much with improvements, because that was another thing that was like 1996, and when I was buying it I was like, that wasn't that long ago for a big remodel. So that kind of made me feel a little more comfortable too, especially them having done the remodel.
Right.
Yeah,
You're gonna put the time and money into it.
What else is going on in your life?
Do you have anything to tell us?
Yeah.
No, nothing personal. I'm gonna stay away from that. No. Yeah. nice weather.
Where would someone find you on a Friday, Saturday in the Valley?
At the Liberty Theater,
Oh,
working concessions. And that's a cool thing
yeah,
about
that's cool.
the theater that I bought it with partners and then brought in more local partners, and you can find one. We're working it. And that's a huge thing for me. Like when I walk into a business, whether it be a bar, or a coffee shop, or MVP, when you see the people that have stake in the company or like own it, that are working it, like that always means a lot to me. And you can tell there's a different vibe.
Totally.
So we definitely, we have to work it. We can't pay anyone to work it. So I think that's a really fun part. And when people come in, they're really great. Like we're just behind the bar, like working concessions, giving you popcorn, and we couldn't be happier doing it. But that's, I think, like when someone's starting a business, you can't just throw money at something and expect it to work. There's an element of, you got to be there and you put your face on it and your love into it. So it's been super fun. My Friday nights are working the bar with Luke McCann, Ryan Roseman, Pat McCain, and Peter Valmarescu. It's like,
That's fun.
yeah,
So cool.
yeah.
All your friends.
Can the community help out, the local community volunteer? Are there options for that? And if so, like what is it? How can we help?
Yeah, if you want to work, because eventually we will get burnt out, or we don't want to. So we run in a couple businesses, and we all have different full-time jobs. So there'll be a point where like opening the movie or like running a movie every night, because we try to have a lot of events. So we're trying to build a list of people who would like to not volunteer. We'll pay them, but kind of learn the ropes of concessions, and if they want to work a movie. So you could email Pete at libertytheaterhaley.com, and that will just let him know that you're interested in, working events or volunteering. But we definitely want to pay people for their time, at least tips. So that'd be a great way to help. But the biggest way to help would be going to events, which people are doing great for the Little Shop of Horrors. But just showing up to movies or anything, or telling your friends. Because the second favorite thing I hear is, I love what you're doing with the Liberty Theater. Thank you so much. I can't wait to make it down there. Or I haven't made it down there yet. It's like, cool. Thanks. Like, I'm there every day trying, but if you could make it down once, that'd be the next best thing to say is, I love what you're doing. Thank you so much. I love the play, or it was fun going to the movie. So I think a lot of people are still trying to get there, and like, you can do it. You can make it happen. Just get in the car and drive down.
So last question. It's personal.
Okay.
Are you married?
I'm not. No.
So, ladies, we have an unmarried man sitting here, and we'd like to thank Logan
Thank you very
for
much.
coming on the show today. We had a lot of fun. Don't forget to hit the subscribe or the like button.
Yep.
We're happy that you guys joined us today. Looking forward to our next one. And bringing that up, we don't know what our next one is. Typically, we kind of know. We have some ideas, but we would like you to go on our website. What is that, Spencer?
Yeah, if you want to go on, contact us at sunvalleyshoptalk.com.
And go and we're going to have, if we don't have yet, we're going to have a page there that you can answer some questions if you'd like to be on the show and you have stories to tell about Sun Valley. We'd love to have you on. Thanks again for watching.
Thank you.
Thanks, Logan.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Scan the code to check out what events the Liberty Theater has on the calendar. And be sure to join our community on Instagram. We'd love to have you.